And I asked Christine, who the hell is that and why is she here? And Christine was like, oh, that's Zoe. She's a good old friend, you know, she's really good at party planning. Here's my thing. I don't give a fuck how good Zoe is at party planning. This should be planning her funeral. Does that seem a little bit too crazy? No. Hi everyone, my name is Kaylie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Okay everybody, happy Saturday. I hope that you all are having an amazing day. I do want to share a few updates with you guys. I know Kaylie's been gone for 2 weeks. I know, okay, I know. If you guys want to skip to the video, then like I'll put the timestamp right here. Y'all can go there. But just some things going on in my personal life recently. So 2 days after I posted my last video, I posted my last video on the 26th of May. 2 days after that, I got my IUD out, y'all, and holy crap. Ugh, I don't even know what that word was, okay? Just quick few updates on that. So for those of you who don't know what an IUD is, it is a contraceptive. It's a birth control that they put inside of you and it goes in your uterus and it disperses medicine for a certain amount of time that will keep you from getting pregnant. I have the Kaylie, which is a hormonal one, and I got it back in 2018 whenever I was like 16, and I got it in April. See, this is where, you know, like I just wish that I would actually just check the date and not, you know, be like, oh, well, I think. Actually, no, I'm not even gonna blame this on myself. No, actually, it's not my fault. I'm kidding. Kidding, not my fault, okay? Having a hormonal birth control, you know, obviously hormonal, it affects your hormones. I've never paid attention once to my hormones ever in my life. I got that IUD in and I was like, whew, we're chilling, okay? And if y'all don't know the story about my IUD, I took my ADHD medicine today. I'm gonna be talking really fast, so try to keep up. If I never told y'all the story about my IUD, y'all, the first time I got my IUD, I was 16, and if I wanted it to be a secret and nobody to know about me getting the IUD, I had to sign a consent form, but this consent form, it also stated that I have to let student doctors in the room so that way they can learn. It's like a free program, whatever. I go to get my IUD put in, I go with my friend, and you know, my doctor isn't even there. It is a random doctor who comes in and then, you know, like she gets me all set up, and then eight student doctors walk into the room and are all staring up my cooch. Yes, a freaking audience. So then she lets one of the student doctors put the IUD in, and you know, everybody says that getting your IUD really hurts, and it hurts. It depends on the person. For me, on a scale from 1 to 10, now that I've had it removed and taken out, removed and put in again, I could say that the first pain was literally a 5 out of 10. It was barely anything, okay? But he put it in. He went to go and cut this string. There's a little string that's attached to it, okay? He went to cut the string, ripped it out. So then he had to put it in again. He put it in again. I was fine. It hurt a little bit the second time because, you know, like my cervix and everything, like I was irritated down there. She's like, bro, what are you doing to me? So, you know, but I was able to get up out that office. I went home that same day. I went and hung out with my friends, you know, was walking around fine. I had a few little cramps here and there. I've been good, okay? Got that whenever I was 16. They told me it lasts for 5 years, okay? Then whenever I was 21 last year during November, right before I turned 21. Oh wait, no, that was, ooh, holy shit. Okay, I guess not last year. 2022 of November, I had went back to my gyno to get a pap smear because I think it's once you turn 21, you need to get a pap smear every year. I don't know, okay? Don't quote me on any of this stuff, please. But I went and I got one. When I went there, I was like, oh yeah, like I need to get my IUD taken out next year during the summer because 2023 of May or April, that's 5 years. And she's like, oh no, honey, these, you can have it in for 7 years now. And I'm like, oh really? She's like, yeah, you know, like you're good. And I'm like, oh, okay, period. What sis failed to tell me was that the contraception lasts for 7 years, not the hormones, okay? If you don't know what hormones are, they affect fucking everything. I didn't know that. Sorry if this like seems like I'm getting aggravated. This actually very much does aggravate me. So, you know, I went on a whole nother year thinking that I was fine, okay? So I should have got it taken out last year, May or April. Didn't know that. So this whole past year, I would say from probably around, I would say probably since July last year, my body has been going through some major changes, like major changes. I told you guys that I've been having trouble with my acne, and my mood swings were literally all over the place. I was losing hair, literally losing fucking hair. I barely had any energy at all. Even when I would take my ADHD medicine, it would literally put me to sleep. I didn't know that that's what it was because sis only told me, oh yeah, your IUD lasts for 7 years. So I'm going throughout this whole time, and this is recent, you know, like I'm telling people, then I found out that it only lasts for 6 years. So now I'm going through and I'm telling people, yeah guys, like I really feel like my body's been acting up for my IUD. Everybody is telling me, no, it's not because of your IUD. So, you know, I kind of feel like I'm like going crazy a little bit, right? You know, because once everybody around you is telling you that you're wrong, you're like, okay, well shit. Like, so I went and looked in every other single direction to figure out what the hell was going on with me. Finally, I went to a gyno because I knew that this year it had to come out, and I went there in April. I talked to her, you know, I wasn't able to get my IUD out then because something with my insurance, and then I went to another gyno May 15th, I think, of last month, and I talked to her, and you know, she's like, oh, okay, you know, like you're all good, we'll get it taken out. And I'm like, so I have a question. Like, I don't know if this is just me being paranoid, but like, am I going crazy, or like, are these changes like my acne, my eating, this, that, and the next, like, can some of these symptoms be because of my IUD? And she was like, yes. And I was like, really? She was like, yeah, honey. She was like, I'm surprised you weren't here earlier to get it out. She was like, the hormones don't last for 6 years or 7 years. The hormones run out after the 5 years. And I literally started crying, y'all. I started getting emotional. I was like, so this whole time I've been feeling like I'm freaking crazy, spending tons of money on dermatologist appointments, you know, trying to figure out what the hell is going on with my body. And yeah, so I got my IUD taken out on the 28th, and y'all, it hurt really bad. Like, it hurt. So I would figure that since, you know, this IUD is in your body for 5 years, that it starts to, you know, the tissue and stuff starts to grow around it, you know, you would think, because now your body's like, all right, I guess this is a part of us. Let's accept her. Let's welcome her, make her feel comfy. And then, you know, she gets all, you know, comfortable in there. Well, she ripped it out. I asked her too. I was like, can you be honest with me? Will this hurt? And she's like, no, you'll be fine. She'll be like, it's just a normal pain. And I'm like, okay.
He don't got a clue in the fucking world.
So I'm expecting the pain that I had the first time. Oh my God, y'all. She ripped it out and she was like, all right, we're about to put it in. I was like, stop, hold on, give me a fucking minute. Can I breathe? Can I breathe? So then she's like, oh, you need a second? I'm like, yeah, bro, I do. I really do. So, you know, I took a few seconds. I'm literally like, and I'm one of those people who, like, when I'm in pain, I like hold my breath. It's not even like, you know, on purpose or anything. I just go, and then I just don't move. So, what's it called? You know, so I'm trying to breathe and it's making me feel like I'm gonna pass out. And then I'm like, okay, go on, get it over with. Because my cervix or whatever was fucking agitated now, there is a tool that they have to use. Think about it. 2 metal tongs with, like, you know, little like pinchy thingies right here that they have to grab your cervix with and put the fucking IUD in. Since my cervix was aggravated, yeah. They literally, she had to hold my legs up for like 10 minutes. I couldn't feel the lower half of my body for like probably 25 minutes. I asked her, I was like, can you give me my pants so I can put them back on? She left the room. She comes back 20 minutes later and I'm still standing there. I'm still sitting there with my pants in my hand, and I just look at her and I'm like, I can't move. She's like, okay. And I'm like, yeah, like, I don't know what to do. Like, I can't move. So anyways, that whole day I was in excruciating pain. I should not have driven myself. But I drove myself. They wouldn't let me leave the hospital until they felt like I was okay. I left after an hour of sleeping in the fucking waiting room. And then I went to my car. I fell asleep for another hour and then I drove home. But like, the drive home was absolutely awful. And so for the past like 2 weeks, my body's kind of been, you know, trying to figure out what's going on. Cause now I have a ton of, I think it's progesterone that's just like in my body. So that was very long, but that's what I went through and then I'm moving soon. So yeah, that's really all though. So let's get into today's story time. I'm gonna bring you guys up close. There we go. Okay, so today's story time should be a long one. So go to the dishes that need to be washed or go grab that basket of laundry and let's get into today's fucking story time. But before we actually get into today's story time, we are going to do our quick usual little rundown for those of you who may be new here. For most of the video, I'll be looking in this direction because my mirror's over here and I would like to see what I'm doing. I do tell these story times in a first person point of view, so if you don't like that, then you can leave.
There's the door. There's the door, bitch!
And these story times are sent in by anonymous people. Now let's get into it. Okay, story time about my boyfriend's ex-girlfriend's psycho sister. That was a mouthful. So a little background information. I was about 18 whenever this whole situation started, and it was kind of at the end of my senior year in high school. Now, per usual, for everything to make a little bit more sense, it is extremely necessary that we go back quite a few years before this whole mess came about. So first, I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit about my family, okay? I have an older brother named Caleb who is 2 years older than me, which obviously means that he was 2 grades above me in school. We both went to the same school. And the way that my schools worked, we had elementary school that goes from kindergarten to 4th grade. We have junior high, which goes from 5th grade to 9th grade. And then you have high school, which goes from 10th grade to 12th grade. Now, whenever I first got into high school, Caleb was a senior. And I'm not gonna lie, Caleb was fairly popular. Reason I say fairly is because he wasn't your typical captain of the football team, quarterback, or you know, prom king type of guy. No, most of his popularity came from being pretty good at sports. Like, he was definitely one of the more skilled players on the basketball and football team. But like I said, wasn't captain of either of them. You guys get it. He was like that athletic kid that hung out with all the athletic kids that were better than him, which in turn gave him like popularity points. Now, in middle school, people didn't really care who I was. Like, nobody cared that I was Caleb's sister. But as soon as I got into high school, I felt like a fucking celebrity. And it wasn't even because we had the same last name. No, it's because people thought that we literally looked exactly alike. Which, if I'm being honest, we do not look anything alike at all. We literally look the complete opposite of each other. Caleb has brown curly hair with green eyes. And then there's me with dirty blonde hair and blue eyes, which maybe people thought we had the same face shape, but I don't know. We don't look alike, in my opinion. You know what's funny? I feel like people always, like, who have siblings can never see that they look like their sibling, but other people can. Like, for example, my sister and I always thought that we never looked alike. Like, literally, anybody who told us we would look alike, like, we would be like, no, we don't. And then one time we were at my grandma's house and we're both looking at the mirror taking selfies. And then we just look at each other and we're like, we both like notice at the same time, we're like, oh my God, we really do look alike. And then we just stared at each other in the mirror for like a good solid 5 minutes. But anyways, yeah, him and I were the complete opposite looks wise and just in school in general. The only reason why I had popularity was from him because, quite honestly, my brother was pretty much friends with literally everybody. He had this one best friend that he was super close with, Callum, and Caleb didn't play a big role on the football team, but Callum, on the other hand, he was the quarterback. He was like the captain, you know? Which, them being besties, made Caleb even more popular, especially with the ladies, because almost every girl in school had a crush on Callum. And I know you guys are probably wondering, well, what does every girl having a crush on Callum have to do with Caleb? Well, if y'all ever been to a stereotypical high school, usually girls will go for the hottest guy and the hottest guy's best friend. I have eyeballs, actually 20/20 vision. I wish. So I could see that Callum was very attractive, but at the same time, boys were just a no for me. Okay, not right now. Not that I swung the other way, but I wasn't focused on them because that was my brother. But me, on the other hand, I was kind of a nerd. I've only ever had one best friend who we are going to call Harley since I was about 10 or 11 years old. But I was even more of a nerd because I focused on mainly my academics, biology specifically. Ever since I was a toddler, I grew up wanting to be a veterinarian. Growing up, my family, we had so many pets and I always loved taking care of them. And even though biology was like the main thing that I focused on, I still did really well in all of my other classes as well. So now you guys can probably see why I didn't really have an interest in guys or relationships. I was focused on my future. So now that's like the whole background information on school. So now it's time to get a little personal.
Don't you ever in your life do that again.
Just kidding, we're actually just gonna get into my personal life / home life. So like I said earlier, Caleb and Callum were literally besties and have been for the longest time. Callum was over our house almost 24/7. Like, he was definitely considered part of the family. He would show up to our family events, even the ones that he wasn't invited to. Like, he was very dedicated. He was a very dedicated member of our family who actually wasn't a member of our family. I'm not complaining because he was very good looking. Having a good looking guy around you, like, you know, not a problem whatsoever. But he was low-key, kind of a douchebag and very immature. Well, him and Caleb were very immature, actually. Anytime that I would see them around the house, they would be doing some dumb ass shit. Whether it was seeing who could chug a whole gallon of milk within 30 seconds, or most of the time, wrestling each other, which most of the time also ended up with appliances and bones being broken. Now, to other people, these would look like two dumb jocks, but to me, this was my family. There were also a ton of rumors that went around about Callum and Caleb being huge players when it came to girls, and as Caleb's sister, I knew for him this wasn't true. He is literally a lover boy at heart. But Callum, on the other hand, it didn't really take any convincing for me to believe that he had no problem dating a girl and then tossing them to the side whenever he got bored. All right, now that you guys have a little bit of more background information, we're going to jump to my senior year of high school, particularly at the end, whenever I was 17. So like I said, never really had time for boys. I was involved in school, but I would always hear the girls my age or in my grade talking about their boyfriends and their sex lives. Most of the time I felt left out. I mean, to be honest though, I didn't really care until I realized that I'm gonna be 18 soon, and I eventually started wanting that intimate experience that all these girls were talking about. Also the feeling of finally being grown up. Just a quick comment out here for all of you. Just because you haven't had sex yet does not mean that you're not a grown up, okay? Okay, just wanna put that out there. Anyway, so I decided to make a plan to lose my virginity. Which was perfect because my birthday was the beginning of June, so I would be able to get it over with right before school ended and summer started. It's like a win-win for me. Listen, I know that this all sounds very comical, okay, and irresponsible, but I was 17. Give me a fucking break. Okay, okay. My thought process was I would not have to deal with being an adult virgin, which is never a bad thing, but I would also be able to feel included in everybody else's experiences as well. Like, I would finally be able to relate. Now obviously my plan wasn't to just sleep with somebody random, okay? I did have a plan. The only boy that I was even remotely close to who wasn't my brother was literally Callum. And I was very physically attracted to him. So he was perfect for this plan. Like, he was your typical tall, dark, and handsome man. He was tall, he had the wavy brown hair, brown eyes, super muscular, the whole 9 yards. God put his time into making this man, literally. So I also went into this having the mindset of the fact that this wouldn't turn into anything because of his reputation with women. And in all honesty, I was completely fine with that because I had dreams and goals that I was focusing on, okay? This was just a little obstacle that I needed to hop over to keep moving forward to getting to my dreams and goals, okay? Accomplishing them. Yep. Fast forward to the day of my party. I was super excited because not only was I going to be legally an adult, but I was gonna be turned into a woman. A woman. So anyways, like I said, I'm at the party, I'm having a super good time, and then the man of the hour walks in the room, and I was just like so giddy because like I couldn't hide it because like it's just like one of those things where you're sneaky and you know in the back of your head that something that somebody else doesn't know, and you're just like, they're gonna be so shocked. So anyways, Callum walks over to me, he hands me this super cute gift. He got me a custom jersey from our school's football team. On the back, it had my last name in the bracket, and then it had my brother's football jersey number. And the best part about the jersey was it had the better written in the bracket above my last name. So it was a cute, thoughtful gift, and I liked it even more because I knew it was gonna piss my brother off. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really remember too much from my party because the legal drinking age in my country is 18, and listen, I made sure to thoroughly abuse that. Yes. The only person who knew about this plan was obviously my only friend, Harley, and she was completely on board with this. So eventually, from what I remember, she was like telling me, girl, you gotta do it now. Like, go, now, now's the time, go, now's the time, go, now. So then I go over to him and I managed to, you know, snag him away from the party and take him back to my house. And we're standing in my room and then I just blatantly tell him I wanna have sex. He seemed very caught off guard, which surprised me because of the rumors about him and, you know, his reputation with the ladies. Like, I was expecting him to say, okay, let's get it on. Let's get shit cracking. But no, he was very hesitant, and then he asked me a couple of times if I was sure. I was like, yes, bro, I'm sure. So after a little bit of convincing, he finally like gave in. And yeah, I don't remember much of my birthday party, but I will always remember the night that I had with Callum, because we'll just say I had a great time. After this, Callum and I started spending a lot of time together, and I learned quite a bit about him in a very short amount of time. He is the second oldest out of all 4 of his siblings. It goes Christine, who is 28, and then Callum, who was 21 at the time, Liam, who was 16, and then his other sister, Jenna, who was 13. One of the things that literally just made me even more attractive to Callum than I already was the fact that he was very protective over all of his siblings. Well, just like his family in general. And we both clicked in that way because we were both super family oriented. Callum's a lot like his dad whenever it comes to personality, you know, super funny, really into sports. And then there's Callum's mom, who on the other hand was extremely quiet but very polite. But Callum would rarely talk about his mom. Anytime that anybody brought her up, he would try to change the subject immediately. I never understood why, and I didn't really want to ask because it seemed to make him so uncomfortable, but eventually Caleb told me that his mom has breast cancer and she's very sick. So after that, I kind of just left that alone. And after Callum had graduated high school, he went to a university on a sports scholarship or athletic scholarship, whatever the hell it's called. But shortly after, he dropped out to help take care of his siblings and his mom. I could tell that he was kind of upset about this because I could tell that he was kind of upset about the fact that he didn't get his degree, because not only was he super into sports, but he was super into his academics as well. But that's what happens whenever you're family oriented. Your family always comes first. Anyways, at this point, I started having real feelings for Callum. Like some deep shit, even though I would never admit it. Fast forward, finally, graduation. I was so happy, y'all. Finally, all of my hard work paid off and I could get started with my adult life. I mean, honestly, no, my high school graduation was like such a big milestone because I had already gotten into the university that I wanted to go to, which they are really well known for their amazing veterinarian program. My parents were super excited and very proud of me, especially because Caleb had to repeat his senior year and then he ended up just dropping out. Since then, he's been spending most of his time on the couch watching TV and looking for police and military training camps to go to that he never ended up going to. Anyway, so because I had such a large birthday party, I wanted to have something smaller for my graduation. So I decided that I would just do dinner with my family and then I would have a sleepover with Harley. I know it sounds lame, but y'all, I told y'all earlier, I'm a nerd. I have one friend and my birthday was enough for me. So I go to dinner with my family. Then we come home and then Harley comes over, and while we're in my room, we hear tapping. We start looking around and then I look over at the window and who is standing there smiling at me? Callum. My bedroom was on the 2nd floor, but I had like a roof under my window that he could climb onto and stand on. But yeah, he was there. I was shocked to say the least. And so I kind of look at Harley and then she just gives me like this cheeky smile and like kind of, you know, like a, oh, okay, I see you type of look, and then she leaves the room. So I open the window to let this clown in my room. And if I'm being honest, y'all, he literally could have just came through the front door. Like, he's literally at my house 24/7. Nobody would have questioned it at all. But maybe he felt clever. I don't know. You know how boys love doing shit the hard and dangerous way, even though there's so many like easier ways to do what they want to do? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so when he gets in the room, I'm like, what the hell are you doing here? And I say it like that because, like, you know, I don't want him to think that he can just come to my bedroom window whenever he wants. Like, what are you doing? And then he gives me like this sneaky little smirk, kind of like a, like, oh, are you impressed? Like a, He was cute. I could not maintain the serious act that I was trying to put on. Y'all, I literally hate that. I think we have all experienced at least once in our life where we have that one person who knows how to make every situation a joke or just like make us laugh whenever we're not supposed to. And it can literally be just from like a look on their face. And for me, it's my dogs. What, y'all thought I was gonna say a person? Ha, no. No, but for real though, you know, Finn, he'll like do something that he's not supposed to multiple times, then I'll look at him and I'll be like, ah, stop it. And then he just looks at me and he gives me like these huge puppy eyes, and then I'm like I can never stay mad at him or just like be stern with him. He knows that he can literally get away with everything. Anyway, so back to the story. Like I said, comes in my window, he congratulates me, and then he hands me this little gift bag, which I probably seemed more shocked than excited because I wasn't expecting it. But I opened it and inside was a heart pendant necklace. And then y'all, I'm not even joking, there was a check for $10,000 in there. A literal check for $10,000. And whenever he saw the look on my face, because I'm just sitting there staring at this check like, what is this? Like I can't read or something. And he was like, I wanted to give you a little boost to help paying for your university. And he said it so nonchalantly, like it wasn't a big deal that he had just given me a $10,000 check. I've never seen a check with more than 4 zeros in it, or just 4 zeros in general. Like, I knew Callum was wealthy, but I don't know he was wealthy. Okay? I mean, to be honest though, I guess that's what happens whenever your mom is a ballerina and models in Paris. Honestly, our families were super different. My parents had my brother and I whenever they were super young. I'm talking around 15 or 16 whenever they had Caleb, and then around 18 whenever they had me. And we didn't really have the best childhood growing up. We lived in a super small apartment for a while. My parents worked their asses off. I remember sometimes we would literally go to our grandparents' house for a whole week just so that way my parents could have a fucking break, which they deserved. My mom was never able to end up graduating high school, and my dad barely graduated because they were so busy with my brother and I. Because of that, it was super hard for them to find jobs, or at least good paying jobs, to the point where they could like provide for us and we could live comfortably. Thankfully though, my dad ended up landing a position in this really good business firm when Caleb and I were like preteens. After that, things started really looking up because my parents were making good money, and then we were able to move into a nice neighborhood and into a beautiful house. Like, honestly, I'm so grateful to have such good parents, and I respect the hell out of them because they worked their asses off. Like, they put that work in whenever they were young to take care of us and for us to have the life that we have. Now, because both of them struggled in school, they really wanted my brother and I to get a good education. And as I said before, Caleb was not a school person, so I really wanted to make my parents proud of me and, you know, go to college like they wanted me to and get a really good job. That's why I worked so hard to get into the university. Sorry, that was like a little bit off track, but back to the story now. So whenever I'm finally able to get the words, "you're welcome," or "thank you" out, he goes, "Oh, you're welcome," gives me a kiss on the cheek, and then just, you know, hops out the window. Bye. I felt like I was in a movie. And y'all, after that, I finally decided to let the walls come down that I had built up, and I finally let myself like Callum. And when I say I finally let myself, I mean, before I would never admit it to anybody, not even myself, okay? Because when you admit it to yourself, it's even more real than admitting it to other people. Anyway, so fast forward, school's out, and for the summer, I got an internship at a zoo to prepare for university. I was extremely excited until I got there, and on my first day, I started feeling extremely nauseous, like really, really nauseous. But I decided to push through it like the strong woman that I am and finish the whole day. But when I was driving home, let's just say I literally just should have left earlier because y'all, I couldn't hold it in anymore. Unfortunately, the closest thing to me was a gas station, and I had no choice. I ran in there and people probably thought that I was getting chased, and I threw up like projectile vomit. Anyway, so then I started thinking to myself how weird it is because I am not somebody who gets sick randomly, okay? It either has to be somebody that I'm around who gets me sick, or that's it. Like, even like eating like foods or anything, you know, like I usually don't get food poison, none of that. Like, yeah, and everybody that I've been around hasn't been sick. So then I'm sitting there trying to think, if nobody got me sick, then what the fuck happened? And then I remembered back to my birthday and I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. And then I checked my app, and then I realized that I'm actually 5 days late on my period. So I immediately start to freak the fuck out because 1, I'm 18 years old. 2, I just got out of high school. 3, All of my dreams of going to this amazing university and becoming a veterinarian were finally about to start coming true, and all of this could be ruined. So now, before I decide to start completely freaking myself out and send myself into a mental breakdown, I decide that I'm gonna go and buy some pregnancy tests, and I needed moral support for this shit, so I call Harley. Thankfully, she came over as soon as she heard that something was wrong, and yeah, I'm very thankful because there was no way in hell that I was doing this shit alone. So when I get home, I bolt up to the bathroom, I lock myself in there until Harley gets to my house. And listen, Harley's not the most stable person, okay? And we're low-key complete opposites. She loves to drink, loves to party, loves to try new substances, and quite frankly could give two shits less about school. And she's a little bit of a whore. But that does not change the fact that she is my best friend and I love her. Don't get it twisted. The point is, she's usually unstable, but in this situation, she was very supportive, she was there for me, and she was the one who was keeping me sane. So, you know, like I said, she gets to my house and I took 3 tests. Yes, 3, just to be sure, and they all came back positive as fuck. I'm not talking a faint line, I'm talking that shit was there. Here's the thing, even though I had all these big dreams and goals for myself, and I wanted to go to this university, you know, the dream that I worked super hard for, I personally have a strong belief against abortions, okay? So for me, that just wasn't an option. Please don't come at me in the comments, okay? To each their own, your body, your choice, my body, my choice. I don't like getting abortions, that's my choice. Anyway, so I knew if I kept the baby, my chances of getting into, you know, or staying at this university were literally reduced to almost 0. So Harley and I sat there for literally hours trying to come up with a plan of what I was gonna do. But then I just kind of had a realization that obviously this was meant to happen, so I'm just gonna try and go with the flow of things. So I waited a few days before I told Callum that I was pregnant, because I was low-key just nervous, to be honest, but his response was how I could imagine every other girl would want the father of their soon-to-be baby to react. Did that make any sense at all? I don't know if it did, but hopefully you got what I was trying to say, you know? But yeah, especially in this situation, like, you know, I'm just like kind of putting it on him. Hey, like, I know that you're, you know, we're young, but hey, and we only had sex one time, but hey, we're having a baby. Surprise! And I'm keeping it, surprise! But he literally just hugged me really tight and he said, don't worry, we're gonna get through this together. Which, holy shit, he just about like melted my heart. And I know this is gonna sound like, you know, girl, your expectations are so low, but like with the men nowadays, you like, come on. Like, he never even asked if like the kid was his or anything. He was just like, no, we're gonna get through this shit. No questions asked. Like, when I think of a typical 21-year-old boy getting told they're gonna be a father, they'd be like, yeah, peace out, bitch. Enjoy being a single mother. But nope, not Callum. And in all honesty, during my pregnancy, he was literally the absolute best. Anytime that I was feeling down, he would come, cuddle me, you know, give me all of his undivided attention. And anytime that I was feeling sick, he would go get me medicine. If I was craving something, he was like, I'll be back, don't worry. Like, this kid literally pretty much kissed the ground that I walked on. I was so grateful for him. And it was obvious that both of us had feelings for each other, but neither of us wanted to say it. Fast forward, after spending a couple weeks seeing each other almost every single day, Callum popped up at my window again. I don't know what it is with this kid and fucking windows, bro, but yeah, he popped up at my window the one night. He's lucky that I was awake, but you know, I opened the window and he kisses me, and y'all are about to be low-key shook, right? Because him and I haven't kissed since my birthday, which I know you guys are probably thinking, what the fuck? Girl, you're pregnant with his kid and he hasn't, what? Yeah, I don't know, it just didn't happen. Like, it was like we were friends having a baby together. Weird, I know. But yeah, this time whenever he kissed me though, it just felt completely different. Like, this one had actual meaning in it. And then after he kissed me, he asked me to be his girlfriend, which I thought was super cute. Of course, I've said yes. Listen, I have known that I love this boy for a hot minute now, but it's always very scary to be the first one to admit your feelings for someone, especially when you can't really tell if they feel the same way about you. Eventually, Callum ends up coming to every single one of my doctor's appointments. Actually, at the first ultrasound, he was the one who noticed that we were having twins. Twins. yeah, I almost had a freaking heart attack. And you know, yeah, like I'm looking at the, you know, thing during the ultrasound. I can't really tell what the fuck is going on. But then he's over here, he notices these two little beans, you know, just like floating around in there. I tried my absolute best to stay calm and look excited in that freaking office. But as soon as we got to the car, I started freaking out. Okay, like listen, I had only just accepted the fact that I was going to be a mother to one baby. One, not two. So I start bawling my eyes out as soon as we get into the fucking car. I was telling Callum how worried I was, and you know, just expressing the fact that I'm even more worried because we're not prepared for this baby at all, these two babies. But you know what, bless Callum's heart, because y'all, he just sat there and listened to me bitch and moan. And after I was done, he told me how happy he was and that we are blessed and that he feels so honored that he is able to be a father to two children, to two little babies. And honestly, this just really reminded me of how much more mature Callum is today than teenager Callum that I grew up with, you know? And I've been avoiding telling my parents for good reasons, because you know, they wanted me to go to university. And listen, they liked Callum as Caleb's best friend, as the guy who got their teenage daughter pregnant. You know, like they worked their asses off so that way Caleb and I wouldn't have to live the way that they lived and have the struggles that they had. And for me to just be pregnant now, after I tell them, they're probably gonna feel like, why did we work so hard for y'all to just follow in our footsteps, which is what we literally did not want to happen. So yeah, I was scared to tell my family. But then there's Callum over here, who was completely static about telling both of our families that we were gonna have a baby. Sorry, actually, two babies. So then Callum ends up convincing me somehow to tell my parents that I'm pregnant. And to say that they were not happy would literally be an understatement. They were fucking furious. One thing about my dad, right, is that when he gets angry, very angry, okay? Like, it's not just like a little, like, oh, like, fuck this shit, no. No, it's a whole, he will start shouting at you, he'll start slamming things around, stomping around the fucking house, like having a fucking temper tantrum like a fucking 3-year-old. The only time that he's like able to keep his cool a little bit is whenever he has a full stomach. Yeah, I know, it sounds so stupid, but it's fucking true. So I had this all set up in a way where it was gonna happen after my dad had just eaten lunch. Caleb was gonna be out of the house playing basketball down the street. And yeah, so it was all set up. Callum came over. We all sit down in the living room. Me, my mom, my dad, and Callum. And listen, y'all, I could tell my dad already knew that something was up because he literally was staring into Callum's soul. And at this point, I'm 12 weeks, which is about 3 months pregnant, and I'm starting to show a little bit. And y'all, my heart is racing like a mile a minute. Like, I felt like my heart was going to beat out of its chest and just land on the floor in front of us. Kind of wish that's what happened, to be honest. Because then they at least would have felt bad for me. No, but I couldn't get the words out, so I literally just look at Callum, and he just flat out told them. And like I said earlier, to say that they were furious would be an understatement. My dad starts screaming, literally screaming, and my mom kept trying her best to calm him down. And you know, yeah, it's like the food disappeared right out of my dad's stomach. My mom, she's trying to calm him down, but I'm very grateful for her. You know, she was trying to be sympathetic and supportive, but I could tell deep down she was very disappointed at me, which I think hurt more than if she were to have been mad at me. So as we're still yelling at each other, I start like bawling my eyes out, and I decide I can't handle this. I can't be in this toxic house right now. So I decide to go up to my room, throw some clothes in a book bag, and go leave. Where? To Callum's house. I knew my parents would be disappointed and angry, right? But I did not expect to be verbally abused by my dad. Like, some of the things that he said, well, most of the things that he said were very uncalled for, like very rude, very untrue. And I know that it was mostly out of anger, but at the same time, it still really fucking hurt. So yeah, I needed space, and I spent almost a whole month at Callum's house, and during that whole time, I did not speak to my parents. Telling Callum's parents that I was pregnant was way easier than telling mine. Maybe it has to do with the fact that, you know, like, I mean, I don't really know Callum's whole backstory, you know, with his family, like their upbringing, but you know, the fact that it seemed like his parents had money to kind of, you know, support, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But all I know is that it was easier telling them than it was my family. His family was actually extremely supportive. They were very kind. They were like, yeah, anytime that you need a place to stay, you can come here, honey. Rosalie, Callum's mom, was literally so excited. And when I was with his family, I just felt loved and accepted for who I was. And like, yeah, I soon became really good friends with his older sister, Christine. Like her and I, we started planning the gender reveal and baby shower together. And in case y'all are wondering, you know, for a side note, I did end up making up with my dad, and he saw where I was coming from, was why I was gonna keep the babies and stuff like that, and like he was really supportive. My mother also, I really didn't have a falling out with my mother. It was because both my mom and my dad were kind of, you know, like I could tell that she was disappointed in me. But after my dad and I made up, she started coming to all of my doctor's appointments, and eventually she told me she was super excited. So fast forward, Callum surprises me with a cute little cottage house for both of us, and we both moved in together. Now at this point, we had been dating for about 6 months. I was about 25, 26 weeks pregnant, which means that I was almost 7 months pregnant. And the one day, Callum and I, we go and we meet up with Christine to go and look at the place where we were gonna throw the gender reveal. And while we're walking up to her, we see another girl standing beside her. And Noah just like kind of like, we're holding hands, and like I kind of feel him just tense up, and I'm like, very sus. She had long hair, she was kind of thin, you know, she had a little beauty mark by her right eye. That's very important, remember that. Okay, so you know, we walk up to her, and then she introduces herself as Zoe, Callum's ex-girlfriend. And the way that she said girlfriend like made me nauseous. Like I was ready to barf all over her. She tried touching his arm, and I decided right then and there, I do not like this girl. And then she has the nerve to start saying that it's such a bummer that her and Callum didn't work out, and that they could have been so good together. And then Callum like cuts her off, and he's like, to be honest, Zoe, I couldn't put up with your bullshit. And I'm like, heh, stupid bitch. And then like she gets this like little pouty look on her face, and she starts talking about how it's not fair. Y'all, I wanted to strangle her, like for real. It was like she was trying to ignore the fact that I was Callum's girlfriend and that I was pregnant with his babies. Like bro, you're literally at the place where I'm throwing a gender reveal. Like where's the disconnect, babe? Where is it? So anyways, after finally this girl, she shuts up, walks away, and I asked Christine, who the hell is that and why is she here? And Christine was like, oh, that's Zoe. She's a good old friend, you know, she's really good at party planning. Here's my thing. I don't give a fuck how good Zoe is at party planning. This bitch should be planning her funeral. Does that seem a little bit too crazy? No, I'm pregnant and I'm angry that this girl keeps trying to flirt with my man while I'm right next to him. Okay? Like, no people. So I told Christine, I don't want her here anymore. Make her leave. And you know, she respects my decision. She tells Zoe that she has to leave. And then on the way home, Callum was very quiet. And when I asked him what was wrong, he just like kind of mumbled that like memories were coming back. And listen, from what I have gathered about Callum, like from what I've realized, is that whenever something is wrong with him, leave him alone. He will come to you whenever he's ready to. But if I'm being honest, I was super worried because after that like whole encounter, he just started not being his bubbly self. You know, like ever since he found out that I was pregnant, he was super giddy and bubbly and happy and just like, you know, excited. Pretty sure those were all three the same words, just in different words. Anyways, but now all of a sudden he just looked drained. But I let him be. I knew that he would come to me whenever he was ready. Fast forward a little bit. The one day I wake up to a very silent house, which is very unusual. Because usually in the morning, Callum wakes up before me, whether he's in the shower, brushing his teeth, making breakfast, doing whatever. In the morning, he has to play his music. And his music is loud as fuck. But yeah, I woke up the one morning. I see he's not next to me. I don't hear any music playing. So I thought that maybe he just ran out real quick. So I go to check my phone because, you know, like usually be like, hey, I'm running out real quick. And when I check my phone, there's a text from him, but not from him, if you get what I mean. And it reads, leave him alone. P.S. Congrats on the babies, with a kissy emoji. Like this girl has a death wish. So obviously something felt really off. Not only would my man never say this to me, but my man also knows how to use proper grammar. There were no periods, no capitalization, nothing in this whole little thing that she sent. And for some reason, I have like a gut feeling that I need to go and check the nursery room. And whenever I walked into the nursery room, it was fucking destroyed. Like the cute room that Callum and I had literally just set up 3 days ago was destroyed. The cribs were sawed in half. So I'm starting to get like real bad anxiety here. I start running around the house looking for Callum. His boots are by the door. His car is in the fucking driveway. And I'm like hoping this is some sort of joke, but then again, I know Callum. Callum loves me. Callum would not want me to be stressed during my pregnancy. He wouldn't just fuck up the fucking nursery. He would not put me in like this. No, he wouldn't do that. So while I'm standing by the door about to have a mental breakdown, I just keep thinking about Zoe. I don't know why, but she'd been on my mind the past few weeks, and I kind of just like keep thinking about her, you know, it just keeps running through my head. So I end up calling Christine because, you know, she knows Zoe better than I do, and I tell her everything about the car being still there, the nursery being destroyed, the text message that I got. And she sounded really worried, which pretty much confirmed to me that something was not right and Callum was low-key probably in danger. So it took forever, but finally we ended up tracking Zoe to some like ran down ice cream shop that was like abandoned. And as soon as we stepped into the building, I felt like I was going to vomit. And then I look up and I see Zoe standing behind the counter, just tapping her fingernails against the counter, her dirty ass fucking fingernails, obnoxious as fuck. You know, in this moment, I realized how much I actually loved Callum. Okay, I feel like whenever you're put into like situations like this where like, you know, y'all don't know if you're gonna make it out, it really makes you realize how much you care about that person. Like, yeah, you know that you love that person. I'm saying that, you know, you don't realize you love them just normal day to day, but like that really just like, it's crazy. Anyways, so Zoe's standing behind the counter. I'm trying my best to stay calm. I ask her where Callum is and she goes, hold on a minute. And she lifts Callum up from behind the counter and she just starts laughing. He was shirtless. He had bruises all over him. He had scratches all over his face and cuts everywhere, probably from her fucking dirty ass fingernails. And then she just like drops him. And then Christine, she's standing about 5 feet away from me. She pulls out a gun and she holds it up at Zoe. I was about to tell Christine to shoot her until Zoe pulls out her own gun and points it at me. She starts telling me about how her and Callum were gonna get married and they were gonna have kids, and you know, this was the life that they were supposed to have. Here's my thing, I know my man. I know that he would not settle for anybody who is even close to the type of person that she is. I didn't even know what to say, but by the time that I like even really realized what was going on, I heard the sound of a trigger being pulled and Callum shouts, "Chloe, don't fucking do it." And when he says the name Chloe, I'm extremely confused, and that's when I realized this bitch doesn't have the fucking beauty mark by her right eye. This is not Zoe. So after I hear the gunshot, I go and, you know, I kind of like flinch because I think that she has it aimed at me. And then when I realize nothing hit me, I open my eyes, I look at Christine. I'm expecting to see, you know, like a gunshot wound in freaking Chloe. No, guess what? Chloe shot Callum. Kind of like, if I can't have him, you can't have him type of thing. Like, girl, be for real. Why are you bitter? Why are you bitter? Take the L and go home. Anyway, so Callum's literally laying on the floor, bleeding, and luckily, like, probably only a few moments later, Caleb rushes in. He shows up with a group of cops and an ambulance, and if I'm being honest, the rest of that day is a complete blur to me. His shoulder was in a cast for a month, and then it was in a sling for 3 months, but he survived. That's the main thing. After a few months, he finally opened up to me about the whole, like, who Chloe and Zoe are. He told me that, you know, Zoe, he had dated her for a little bit and she was actually a pretty good girlfriend, but things started to go south whenever Chloe started blackmailing him into having sex with her. And yeah, but now Chloe's in jail. Hopefully she stays there. Eventually Callum ends up proposing to me at our baby shower, and of course I say yes because this kid is literally the love of my life. You guys remember how I told you about Rosalie, Callum's mom? Well, she ended up passing away only a little bit after the baby shower. This was super hard on us because his mom was like a second mother to me. But I also ended up giving birth a month early due to stress-induced labor, which pretty much means that you were so stressed out that you go into labor. But I ended up giving birth to 2 beautiful baby girls, and they are the center of Callum and I's world. And we were able to keep Rosalie alive and her grandchildren because we made their middle names. One had the middle name Rosalie, and one of our other daughters, she had the middle name Colette, which are Callum's mom's first and middle name. Raising premature babies was definitely difficult, especially whenever your fiance has one arm that he can't use, but we worked through it together, and we ended up getting married 1 year exactly after he proposed to me, and I'm literally so proud to call this man my husband. Honestly, everything kind of ended up working out in the end. You know, we got the happy ending. I ended up still going to the university that I wanted to go to, I'm currently in my 3rd semester in Australia, and we moved our little family across the world just for me. And as for the girls, they will be starting kindergarten in September this year. And I can't believe it because it literally feels like just yesterday it was my 18th birthday. And all of a sudden I'm gonna be 24 in a couple of weeks. Okay, everybody, that is the end of today's story time. I'm so happy for you, girly. You and your little family. I hope that you guys are doing amazing, and happy early or late birthday, depending on if you see this or not, or when you see it, I guess. I'm so happy that everything in the end worked out for you. And for those of you who are young parents or just parents in general, just in case nobody tells you, I am so proud of you. And you know, God doesn't give us what we can't handle. Okay, everybody, that is the end of today's video. If you guys like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button down below. And if you want to know whenever I post my next video, make sure to click that bell. And if you want to send in your anonymous story time, or you want to know how to send in your anonymous story time, make sure to click the links down below in the description. But other than that, I will see you guys next time with a new story time.